What's up, YouTube? So this one is going to be about the Brothers Johnson's musical influences. Now, if you were a fan of the Brothers Johnsons, you remember they were two brothers, I think, and plus there was another brother and a cousin or something that were formed in the mid to late 70s. And of course, most people know about them playing on Quincy Jones's Mellow Magic's album, but they had actually started off with Stevie Wonder, and before they had played with Billy Preston. And then they formed their own duo, and what they created starting 76, I'll Be Good to You, and then a lot of classic songs, of course, with Stomp, and then George Johnson on guitar and Louis Thunder Thumps on bass. You remember them. But anyway, their musical influences, like when you hear their music, you kind of, they were from California, and they took on a lot of that vibe and element, a lot of the stuff that you hear, certain things that you would hear, and you'd be curious as to what their foundation was, because I remember reading that Louis Johnson had mentioned Ray Brown and even, of course, James Jamerson, because if you're going to talk about the bass, you got to start with James Jamerson, that Motown bottom. I'm sure there was a lot of Motown influence on what they did artistry wise. I mean, you can hear certain things, obviously, but I would say that if I was front and center about who their main influence is, it's got to be Sly and the Family Stone. Now, Strawberry Letter 22 was, originally a cover song, and it's interesting when you take them the psychedelic aspects, because with the Beatles influence, with Sly and the Family Stones influence, and you take everything that they did, and you just kind of like, you are kind of like compartmentalizing. Um, it's one of those things that um, you're trying to grasp all that, and so you're kind of like putting that in perspective, though. But they took the song originally from Shuggie Otis, so Shuggie was the originator of it. And it had a direct reference. It felt like a Sly Stone. Sly and Family Stone felt like a Beatles type of song. Their other influences was obviously Earth, Wind, and Fire, because when they did the call and response and chants with their musicality, it was. But anything, the Sly and the Family Stone to that, I would say maybe a nod to War. Um, Quincy Jones's styling was a big time influence, 'cause especially with Seahorn, Jerry Hayden, and with the horns. If you're familiar with Seahorn, you can definitely tell with them horns. Billy Preston, I think they played on Nothing from Nothing, because I know they were in the video. Some